I have to say that Montana is still the state of opportunity. I came here as a laborer for a season, and today I'm the director for the Department of Commerce. I'm just blessed to be here. This state has given me so much.
The following is a Big Sky Economic Development production.
It's Mars B.
And Kavo.
And this is The Vault at 201 North Broadway.
A business podcast.
Where we bring you entrepreneurs, small business owners, and community leaders of Montana.
To share their stories, expertise, industry insights, and strategies.
And we are sharing them all with you every single week.
You don't want to miss this.
Learn how to better start, manage, and grow your business.
And your leadership style.
Tangible takeaways to save you time and improve whatever it is that you're working on.
You're listening to The Vault.
Thank you to Big Sky Economic Development for supporting The Vault at 201 North Broadway. Big Sky Economic Development provides leadership and resources for business creation, expansion, retention, new business recruitment, community development, and workforce development. Learn more at bigskyeconomicdevelopment.org. Today, joining us on The Vault is Montana Department of Commerce Director Paul Green. Welcome, Paul. We're really excited to have you joining us for this episode.
Well, thank you very much. I'm proud to be here.
Yeah, we're really excited. So we know that you've done a lot in the state of Montana over the years. You came for college, and we thought it would be fun to just really get your background, where you grew up, what brought you to Montana. Talk a little bit about that.
Oh, wow. My background. Jeez. That's going to be an interesting story.
We're excited.
So I grew up in a little tiny town called Chautauqua, Kansas, right on the Kansas-Oklahoma border. Was raised on a little 16-acre organic farm. There was 22 of us living in a little 900-square-foot house. I was the first one ever to go off to college. I went off to play football and baseball.
You said, wait, 22 of you?
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, it was for a short amount of time, but we were a very communal family. That was my paternal grandmother was the one that was a matriarch, and it kind of my family has a history of building the Transcontinental Railroad and the interstate highway system, so we're very much blue collar family. So education was not necessarily for everyone. So I had made a promise to my grandmother that I'd be the first one to graduate from college. I went off to college, and I have to admit, I found out what beer and women were. So,
where'd you go?
This is another big one. So I actually have been to 9 different colleges before I finally graduated at Rocky.
Woohoo! Go Bears!
Absolutely. I ended up joining the service because I was on and off academic probation. I went from a straight A student to somebody that was lucky to be in class.
Because of the beer and...
Yeah, you got it. Yeah, absolutely. Didn't have a date before I went to college, never had a drink before I went to college, and it just kind of opened up some doors that probably should have been shut.
But you were really smooth with women, so you had no idea.
Fairly naive in that department. But I ended up joining the service, did well enough that I went through the advanced electronics. I was a sonar tech. I had a collateral duty as a diver. I was in a pretty bad accident and was discharged. I'm a 100% disabled veteran. I thought they were crazy when they discharged me. So when I got out, I went to work as a commercial diver.
Oh.
So I kind of traveled the world working commercial diving.
What does that entail, just for those in a landlocked state?
Yeah, well, I actually worked as a commercial diver in Montana.
Okay.
As a matter of fact. My job duties, I was primarily a bridge inspector and a dam inspector. I did some offshore stuff, side scan, sonar, used my advanced electronics background to kind of help me develop a different career. Mm-hmm. And so I ended up transferring some technology out of the Department of Defense. It's called a time domain reflectometer system that evaluates bridge scour.
Wow.
You really want to go down this road. This is
we do.
This is
actually.
This is long. So I got hurt again. I was trapped in a dredge I was bringing up in the Missouri River. It was my second accident in just a couple of weeks, And I was laying there and I was talking to myself, which I do a lot.
Me
And
too.
it occurred to me that I could go back to school on my VA benefits.
Yeah.
And so they pulled me out, did an evaluation. I went back to the apartment, packed up, and went back to school full time. And I went to school at the University of Vermont, got a summer job. You know, as a disabled veteran, you can kind of get one just about anywhere. And I was like, wow, Yellowtail Dam, where is that? In Montana. I'd had enough of the ocean for a while, so I came out here basically for 3 months. And I met my wife playing softball and never left. I was supposed to be here for 3 months, 26 years, 2 kids and a mortgage later. I'm still here.
Oh,
Wow. Well, congrats. That's a lot of great things in those 26 years.
What branch of the military were you in?
I was in the Navy, submarines. Yeah, it was when I finally graduated from Rocky a year and a half later, I had conversations with Senator Burns, and he asked me if I would be interested in an executive director position at Big Sky EDA.
Wow.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Where are you right now?
Exactly.
Big Sky Economic Development.
Big circle. Come right back to it.
It's looks a little different, maybe.
Yeah, the Granite Towers, this is not, I will say that. But we ended up starting a NASA business incubator on the campus of MSU Billings. We helped small businesses use NASA technology to get up and create some commercial off-the-shelf applications.
Wow.
I think we were a bit ahead of our time. I think that where we're at right now, the NASA Business Incubator concept would be a lot better because of what we're doing with photonics and quantum.
Do you see it coming back?
You know, if we could get that appropriations redone, I would like to see it, but I'd like to see it incorporated more into ag technology. I mean, we need to find a way to bridge the gap between East and Western Montana, and I think that ag technology does that. You know, it's a natural fit, organically creating this ecosystem that could make things very successful for especially our younger generation that's being raised in technology.
Yeah, and it's just natural to them. We talked about that yesterday. AI is just like second nature, and they can really navigate it and use it really well.
Well, yeah, we recognize that AI, which is, of course, one of the industries we're looking at as far as data centers, we recognize that there is let's make things very clear here, they're going to make certain occupations extinct. And so we got to find a new way to develop occupations that reflect the new era. And that includes input engineers for AI. You know, these kids, they develop these skills just naturally. I mean, they're holding these phones by the time they're 4 years old.
They're really good at it, too.
Yeah.
I have little cousins. We were at the lake Yellowtail this weekend, and they're just, like, really good.
And then they know how to interact. It's there's a book called Livewire that talks about just the ability to interact. Just I guess we used to call it osmosis, but it's a natural reaction to the stimulus that you're exposed to. And I think that creates a great opportunity for the state of Montana to be on the leading edge of developing this new occupation of input engineers that asks AI, listen, if I've got a crescent wrench and I'm using it as a crescent hammer, I'm not using it right. So it's the same way with AI. You have to ask the right questions to get the right responses. And if we don't have that occupation readily available, that AI tool is just going to be sitting there without really the power that it actually could create as far as developing what we wanted to accomplish.
And I think being more proactive, which is exciting from what you're saying, like just being more proactive as AI is increasing. We always hear Montana's like 10 years behind things, and sometimes that's exciting and great because things hit us just a little differently, but knowing that is coming and being proactive. I do want to walk us back, though, a little bit because we know that, so you went to the Bighorn Canyon. stunning. If you're in Montana and haven't been, it's my favorite dam lake to go to in the state. But you can access it through Wyoming too. If you want to go through Wyoming, you can access on the other side. We know that Hardin is home for you. So do you want to talk? You've done a lot of things in Hardin, ranch, all of that. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So actually, I left the Montana Business Incubator because my community in Bighorn County was suffering. We had lost average annual income per capita for 20 years. When the sugar beet factory burnt down in 1981, we just continued to fall into economic despair. And I felt compelled that was my responsibility, that I had a skill set that could help the community. So I went down there and left my job here, which I truly love, just so you guys know. And in 18 months, we brought in the power plant, we brought in the detention center, brought in the asphalt plant, we brought in Hansers, Shopco. We did a tremendous amount. We developed an 800-acre industrial park. We did a lot of things, but my problem was that I was young. I wasn't patient. I was dealing with a community that wasn't ready for development. I mean, they did tell me, yeah, go ahead, but it was because they didn't believe it could happen. But, we have to look outside the box. And whether it was a mistake for me to make that jump afterwards or not, I don't know. I believe that that success has brought me to this point, realizing that the confidence that you need to have to find a way to say yes. Some communities, and that's why I have Tony here,
Tony is actually here
with headphones on,
so he can say hi.
Hi, everyone.
Thanks, Tony.
Tony, we brought Tony on. We believed when I came on Commerce that we don't want to do anything in a community that they don't want. So when we take their growth management plan and we look at it, use it as a business plan. Okay, what exactly do you want? Well, you don't have these tools. You don't have an industrial park. You don't have the infrastructure that you need to accomplish. So Tony's going to be here using the tools in Commerce to help develop these communities in the way that they want them. And if a community doesn't want to grow, I don't want to waste my time or my staff's time in doing something that's not going to be productive. And I'm not saying that you have to have consensus, because we know in Montana, we're all fairly independent.
Independent.
And that's fine. We just need to know that the public has been asked, and from that we can go forward. But it's very exciting. I feel like what we've got kind of going on, especially in the business attraction side. We also, our housing is really trying to come up with some unique and creative ideas to solve the housing crisis. We are no longer casting a wide net to bring in companies. We are being very specific. We're looking at companies that have jobs. They're going to pay well enough. The model I use is, what happened? Why did our houses go through the roof?
Yeah.
We had people move in here. Well, what jobs did they have? Well, they had remote working jobs where they were making six figures. Okay, let's get those jobs. Let's get those jobs for Montanans.
Yeah.
It's that way we're using the same salaries that bought the houses, but now those jobs are being created here. We need the educational system here to be able to backstop them. Working with Commissioner Sarah Swanson from the Department of Labor.
She's great.
She is fantastic.
She does a lot of good work.
Tons of energy. With our RIS team of Mary Craigle and Kenna Lurkins, they are working on some massive projects for this state. I'm very excited for the future for the state of Montana.
Yeah.
I really am.
So I want to go back a little bit, because you kind of glanced over it. And you're like, oh, we did this business park. We did all these things in 18 months. So coming from Billings and then moving back to Hardin, how do you just do that in 18 months? Like, how do you know how did you even get those companies to come into Hardin?
It's kind of funny. People think that numbers like unemployment is a negative thing. If you have high unemployment, it's a negative thing. No, it's actually an asset. There's lemonade to be made out of lemons. And when people see that there's a workforce, so back then I was recruiting a Walmart distribution center. I was doing some other things that before I left had very good potential. But I just pulled their growth management plan off the shelf, opened it up, and said, let's do this.
Wow.
It's unskilled labor was the reason for the detention center. A lot of people look at the detention center as a negative. Now, it was a political football. There's no doubt about it. And lots of people are completely misled on why it is where it is and how it got there. It was, right after the 9/11, so there was a big push to ship people out of the community. It actually was supposed to be here in Billings. My friends at Big Sky EDA called up and said, hey, we have this project. Would you be interested in it? They don't really want it here in Billings. I'm like, sure, let's come up and have the conversation. It was, unfortunately, when you get into politics, which I definitely was not at that time, you can rub some people the wrong way, and it can be devastating. And it was a lesson learned for myself, for the community. But the point is that we had somebody back in 2002 that was willing to put $27 million into a 100,000 square foot facility. That's a success to me.
Absolutely, it is. Yeah.
And now people don't realize
jobs and just other things that you just don't even. I mean, the unique jobs that comes with.
Well, right now it's producing federal wage jobs with the BIA. I mean, that's something good for our community. And same way with the power plant. It's like we have access to water, we have access to roads. What are our benefits? So that's kind of how I did the 800 acres, because we could fit the detention center plus the power plant into it. Our challenge was to get sewer and water on the north side of the interstate. We had that done in less than 9 months.
Wow.
So it's,
moved quick.
Yeah.
That is huge.
it was just really a shock to, and that's when I first had my experience with commerce. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't get a dime from the coal board for building a coal-fired power plant. Not a dime. It was, commerce was this ivory tower that Eastern Montana was not allowed to access.
And this was around 9/11 time, just different time.
Yeah. It was a frustrating. It was, our coal money is on the coal board, and we're not getting. I mean, it was funny. I used to say that I succeeded there in spite of Helena, not because of Helena.
Yeah.
Our coal money would go to. I said that they would probably fund a diamond store in Kalispell because diamonds are made out of coal.
Yeah. So did those experiences influence some of those next things in your life a little bit? Because so you develop that, you're doing that, you're just kind of rolling. Is that, and I guess before we get to that other question I just asked, was that like your full-time job, or was that just like fun on the side?
Because we know you volunteered a lot over your career in various
you had a ranch
positions.
You're running, so was that just like on the side, we're doing this other stuff for the community?
Yeah, I took one heck of a pay cut to go do that. Yeah, I still, when I left the economic development position there, I brought in the Chinese distribution center down there for Chinese food. Yeah, the volunteering is, so I've been volunteer coach for wrestling, football, baseball, softball. I helped start the search and rescue for the Bighorn County for missing and murdered Indigenous people.
Well, let's pause there, because that was a big deal. Like, you created that was a really powerful program for Bighorn County. Can you share more about that program and your experience and what prompted you to get that going?
Yeah, it's kind of an emotional thing for me. My daughter. So when I was coaching wrestling and football, there was a young lady by the name of Sarah Stops that she was murdered and thrown in a garbage bag and tossed in the back of a yard in Hardin. Oh. And, she used to ride with us to wrestling meets and she had a tragic story. And then after that, my daughter's other friend, Selena, was this was really what tipped the point. She, on New Year's Eve, was dropped off at the rest area, and they didn't find her for several weeks. And some friends of mine that worked for BLM were brought in to do the search. Well, the search had happened for weeks before that, and nobody could find it. Well, afterwards, we found the search patterns, and it wasn't organized. And there was a bunch of us that are farmers and ranchers, just local people that have some expertise in search and rescue. And we decided, since there was such a battle over jurisdiction, who was in charge, that we needed to start something ourselves. So Chaz Benz called me up and says, "Can you help us get this started?" And I'm like, "Absolutely." So we got a group together, just a loose-knit group of people that could do better. And next thing I know, we're getting calls all the time. And some of the things, people, didn't want to be found. But some of them were extremely tragic and involved young children, which I have a heart for.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's now I can no longer do it. I just am too busy. It's kind of like I coach Custer, Hysham, Elstone football, and I don't get to do that anymore.
Your schedule's busy. Well, thank you for sharing that.
Yes,
so
thank you.
You were doing that, and then when did you decide to go and be a legislator? Like, what was that process? And I asked that because I'm like, okay, so what triggered it where you're like, I'm going to go and do this? And then on the other side of that, what was that like running and just that whole process?
Wow. I did not. So a friend of ours, Craig Mailing, called me up and said, we can't allow somebody not.
Is that a Nicole relation? Or
yeah,
okay.
It is. So there's some connection there. He says, "I got too many skeletons in my closet. You're going to have to run." He's a spree pilot, so he probably definitely does. But so I thought about it, and I talked to my wife, and it's like, okay, I'll run. And it was I'm tired of politics as they are. I can't stand the animosity towards each other. And my slogan was, "We're better together." And I truly believe that. Mm-hmm. And I went on the reservation and met with people and would have menudo with them. And, I had kind of created a decent name for myself there. So they allowed me in, and pretty soon we realized that we're a lot more alike than we're apart. Mm-hmm. And, to be honest with you, I did not think that I was going to win. And when I won, it's kind of funny. I show up at orientation with Tony, and it's at the place called the Kleffner Ranch, and I was eating, and I start picking up people's trash. I just that's kind of how I do it. And I think that people thought that I worked there. Nobody knew who I was.
Wait, so give us a time frame. What year span was this?
I also want to say I love that you did that.
I do too.
That
it just shows your character, like you're humble and your character, and I think that just speaks to it, and a great example.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate that. It's I'm just blessed to be here. I mean, this state has given me so much. I think I spoke of my background, so I definitely have a passion for people, and it's my grandma always called it a servant's heart, and I'm just really grateful.
Paul, the story I really like and value and appreciate and find funny is when you walked into the house for the first time. Would you mind telling the folks about that?
I hope you were wearing a bright color too, but maybe not.
No, that was my problem.
Okay.
I didn't know there was a dress code.
Oh no.
Is there a dress code? I guess I don't know if I knew that.
Yes, the legislature has a dress code for men, the classic suits, ties, all that.
Not jeans in Montana?
No.
Wow.
That's really
No.
stunning.
Stunning.
Not on the
It's
house
cowboy
floor.
fancy.
Yeah. And then for women, the classic business dress for women. Paul did not know that and was stopped walking into the house. Please continue.
So we were sitting at Jorgie's, where a lot of things have historically been settled up in Helena. And I'm like going, I don't own a tie, a jacket.
Yeah.
I don't own any of that stuff. And I'm 320 miles from the house. So I had to borrow Senator Daniel Zolnikov's clothes. And my shoulders are a little bit wider than his are. So I walked around like Tyrannosaurus.
Don't move your arms up.
So the next day, after everything was done, Tony and I and Representative Sprunger, I'm like, I gotta get something to wear. So we go down to Missoula, and all I could think of was I was mad that I did not get elected because I wore
A suit.
a suit. I'm like, that wasn't part of any
The
sort
deal.
of
Yeah.
qualifications. You don't have to have a high school diploma, but you do have to wear.
Well, I'm just like, do they give you like a do's and don'ts when you get signed up? It's like, here's an email with the do's and don'ts.
Or is it like you should know the rules?
No, there's a whole list
Okay.
of.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I thought I was being helpful.
Well,
Yeah, no, there's a whole list of rules and regulations and what you're supposed
Honey,
to do.
where
and
were
what
you to
can't
help
do.
him?
But you're probably not looking for the dress code in that. Like when you get that, you're like, okay, you can't like behaviorally or do certain things, right?
Yeah.
But then you're like, oh, there's also a dress code.
So I was already in the chamber. He was not permitted in the chamber, and the packet is on your desk. So
well, and
In the oh my
Nobody-
gosh, you didn't even have that opportunity.
nobody knew that I won. So they were like, so nobody sent me anything. It was like going,
Okay.
I was completely off the radar. So it was like,
But
Who
I
are
think
you?
you came in and made an impression, it sounds like.
it was back to the story of the jackets. We went down to Missoula, went to Dillard's, and we walked around the corner, and here's all these bright jackets. I'm like going, this is my protest to this stupid dress code. And I'm like, give me the craziest ties with, I mean, I do like my paisley shirts. So for every day I would see Tony, I'm like, does it work? He's like, strangely enough.
it strangely enough works. So I mean, he inspired Paisley Wednesdays. So
Oh, wow. See, you're
Look
known.
at you. You were
They're
the
probably-
catalyst,
he really,
trendsetter.
he really is.
Made an impression.
Not on purpose. I'm just going to be completely
At a
honest with it.
protest, which I think makes it even better.
So in between orientation and the first session, my daughter and I went up to the Capitol for 2 weeks, and I walked the Capitol floors. And one thing I know is that the people that do the actual work are the ones that are going to help you out the most. So I got to know everybody in the Capitol's first names before anybody got there. And to be honest with you, that helped me out so much. I mean, there is so much to learn in such a short amount of time. And to be able to go in and say, hey, John, hey, what in the world is transmittal? I have no idea. It just helped so much. And I developed a connection with a lot of people. And as far as legislative, carrying bills, it was exciting. It was awesome. The one thing that disturbed me was the amount of bills that were going through. I felt like I needed to read everything and I needed to know everything.
It's a lot of pages.
It's impossible.
Yeah.
And yet every time you push that button,
Yeah.
it affects someone's life.
Yeah.
I mean,
In a big way.
and I was disturbed by some people that didn't really take it that way at all. I mean, I would come in, Tony was always in, 5:30, 6 o'clock before sessions, and he would be preparing. Tony carried how many bills?
25, 16 were passed and signed into law. It's
Wow.
the most of any freshman this last session.
Absolutely.
Air 5.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to go back real quick. And Paul's ability to connect with anyone in the world is incredible.
He's genuine.
We feel that.
He truly is a genuine person. He knows the custodial staff And today, if he were to walk into the Capitol and see one of those staff members, he would spend a few minutes speaking with them, learning about the latest updates with their family. He truly has this ability, and I think it's what helped get him or helped propel him to this role at Commerce. And it's incredible. It's to watch him talk to anyone on the street. It's a great experience.
Yeah. Well, because you went into the whole situation with a pure heart, right? Like you were going into it because you saw a need in your community and you were going to be that person.
I hope so. I mean,
because Craig was like, I can't.
yeah.
Too many skeletons. So I think that's a really great segue to now. How did this new role for you come about? Like that, what was that call? Like when you got that call, well, one, who was it from? And then what was that feeling like when you got it? Or was it a visit to the ranch?
There was just some rumblings and I, people always talk about, what are you going to do next? And what's this? And would you ever do this? And I'm like, I'm a freshman. I haven't even made it through one term yet. I'm like, yeah, that would be kind of cool. And then I met with an individual and he said, you really need to think about doing this job. And I'm like, whatever. So next thing I know, I'm getting these texts. And, hey,
where are you? You're supposed to be here.
And I will say that the governor's cabinet and staff really encouraged me.
Oh, wow.
And it was, I had a lot of that imposter syndrome, and it was just overwhelming. It was very surreal that I'm like, you guys realize I still identify myself as a knuckle dragon, heavy equipment operator. I don't see myself as somebody that could be elevated into. I've been retired since 2017, just working on the farm and ranch and coaching. So to me, I've been out of the game. How's it work? I don't really give presentations. I don't do PowerPoints. It's like, how am I going to help the economy of this state? And it was completely surreal. It was like, and as a matter of fact, when I got some advice that when I went in to see the governor to have the conversation, to wear a blue jacket and a white shirt. And so I'm like, okay.
Sure.
And I walked out and it's like, that's not going to work.
I only have hot pink jackets.
Purple.
It's actually in the car.
Director Green, yes, walked in to the governor's office fully dressed in a business suit, and the governor's like, nope, not going to happen.
You're like, I'm getting such whiplash.
I was told to do one thing, and then here I am, and I don't like it either.
It's a
Did
good
you
thing
just
because
tuck the tags in so you could return?
absolutely, it has been an interesting change in my life. In the last 18 months ago, I've been like, no, you're crazy. Now here I am.
So did you say yes right away? Like when you're in the office, before he says no to the outfit, which I appreciate that the outfits are like a big deal in all these conversations. I had no idea, but really thrilled about it. Was it like an immediate yes? Or
No.
were you like, I got to think about it?
Actually, he wanted me to go have a conversation with my deputy director, Mandy Rambo, who truly,
She's great too.
she is incredible. It was the job too much to do the business attraction and run the agency. Mandy and I sat down and I wanted to know what her goals were. Then I finally accepted, I talked to my wife and here's the situation and it was a yes. And then I went back and, Mandy, she really runs the place anyway. And she makes very good decisions. Of course, we work as a team. I don't say anybody works for me. Everybody works with me. And then I spent the next, I guess probably 3 to 4 weeks getting to know everybody's name at Commerce. It's important to me that they know that I care about them. And then we started on this track of working with the economic development organizations, making sure that we're partners and everything. And, it took us a long time to get to this point.
Which
didn't
we
it?
appreciate it very much. I'll say that. It's really nice and I think you've done a really great job speaking back to the relationship building. I mean, we see you a lot. I mean, passing through, or you're here. We were in Grand Rapids together. And Meta, we're at Meta, and we see you. And I think that your presence there is just refreshing to know that commerce is here and they're helping.
And you're so approachable, and then the air of partnering on things feels cleaner.
So now that you've been there for a little bit, gotten settled, you know the team, you know the crew, what are some things you guys are working on?
Oh man.
Yeah, what's
We
your
want to
vision?
know.
Vision for Montana.
You're new, which is cool.
It is awesome. Well, I mean, the stuff that we have going on, the companies that come in, and I learn a lot when I go to the META conferences and I see what, these surveys are. Why do people want to come to what's something that attracts them? Number one is quality of life.
Mm-hmm.
All right, great. If that's number one, we beat everybody else.
Oh, absolutely.
So bring people here. Let them see it. Let them experience it. Let them understand that there's a whole jewel here. Mm-hmm. So when people start pulling back, you I'm sure saw the announcement that we just got $41 million for the phase 2 of the Headwaters. Yeah, it's
Tech Hub.
Yeah, it's great. And when people come and they learn that, holy smokes, there's a whole technology opportunity here. Guess what? They tell their friends and they tell their friends. Mm-hmm. And we're growing exponentially in a positive way with good paying jobs in this state. The governor was focused on $50,000 a year jobs. I had a meeting with him the other day, and as we're walking down his hall into his office, he looks up at the wall and he said, Paul, I had hoped to get, it was nothing but ribbon cutting pictures. He said, I had hoped that I could, at the end of my administration, be able to cover this wall. He's like, at this pace, we're going to cover both walls.
That's great.
Wow, that's awesome.
And those are good paying jobs for Montanans.
A new industry, I think, which is really exciting that we're seeing, or just expanded industry. So different types of jobs to more entice younger people to say like, oh no, I can get my education here and I can stay because there is a job for me and I don't have to leave because my degree requires me to leave because it's not here.
I met with, I can't remember how many executives in Seattle with the Montana ambassadors. Mm-hmm. And I sat down with them and I'm like, why did you leave? And they're like, well, our jobs. Mm-hmm. I said, great. I want those jobs in Montana. You know what the quality of life is. You know that today, maybe the best thing that happened with COVID is we had to grow, we had to change.
Yeah.
And it was a blessing to this state.
Mm-hmm.
So we recognize we can prosper. People think that our surplus came from property taxes. No, those property taxes go locally. It came from our income tax. We have an influx of 100,000 people that are making over $100,000 a year. Those jobs can be Montanans. Mm-hmm. It's a great opportunity to realize that a new industry can open up with the governor's entrepreneurial magnet program, where you do not pay capital gains taxes on your sold stock if your company is headquartered in the state of Montana. That makes me think of Silicon Valley in the late 70s, early 80s, where it becomes a serial entrepreneurial cycle, mm-hmm. where a smaller company is bought up by the bigger company. They take that money, they go back out and they start another company themselves. So what's great is that's not an impact to our infrastructure. We don't need a giant building for that. We don't need something massive. And with our energy, we should be, these are problems that we work with here. There are some sort of obstacles that we have to overcome. But right now we have a line of investors into this state that are willing to invest in good paying jobs. Mm-hmm. And that's what I'm excited about. I just need to solve some problems.
Yeah. What are some of those problems, do you think? Just to highlight a few.
It's the way our current energy situation is. I mean, Montana has been known as an exporter of energy. Mm-hmm. Our lines aren't created to be an importer. Well, we have almost 4 gigs of power in the pipeline. We don't have that. We don't have that produced here. With the new Grid United project that creates a new line from Colstrip out, that should help us out significantly. What we're going to do with Colstrip, we understand that there is a significant pressure to shut those units down, which is sad. I mean, I understand what people are trying to say about the environment, but at the same time, you're destroying a lot of careers out there, a lot of employees. Let's make smart transitions. Do not give deadlines. We're changing. We are changing, and I embrace hydrogen. I embrace solar. I embrace wind. I embrace coal. I embrace. Listen, I was on a submarine. I slept next to a nuclear reactor. When you want to talk about small nuclear reactors, I've been on.
It was right
and you
there.
don't have extra ears.
No. My toes are a little different story, but
But I think we are unique, like when it comes to energy, and I'm not fully, but like my brother worked at Colstrip and made really great money out of he did Miles City and then went straight there, internship, hired, and made great money there. But I think, as you're talking like solar and wind, some of that's just with our seasons isn't as reliable as maybe we'd want it. So it does kick in power, but it can only kick in so much based on our weather patterns.
it does not give us that base load.
Yeah, and it's not reliable in a snowstorm.
No, it definitely isn't. And that's why we have to be smart. You don't just go shutting everything down. It's like, let's work out a plan. What's the plan? Just shut things out? No, let's work on a plan. It's, right now we're shipping 200,000 tons of coal to Japan every month.
Wow.
It's incredible. Everybody's buying our coal. Why? Because our coal is the most cleanest coal, and we have to ship it out. It's like, well, wait a second. Shouldn't we be using that here? If it's gone, the environment is worldwide. Yeah,
At some point.
It's a frustrating time. Jim Atchison over at the Southeast Montana Development Corporation is really working hard.
Awesome.
He is fantastic. He's a great guy. I've known him for 25 years.
Yeah, he's
We've been
great.
Great friends. You're not
So
gonna,
knowledgeable too. I mean, he was
boy.
just mentioned in some big publication. I can't, like one of those bigger ones this past year, like New York Times or Wall Street, something like that.
Yeah. I remember
he's
that.
great.
And then they called him on Fox News and
or maybe it
interviewed
was
him.
that. Yeah.
Well, no, he asked.
Because there was an article
Yeah.
in one of the big publications.
Yep. Yeah, it was.
Doing great work. Yeah. So tell us more about like what your plan is. So we have a business attraction team. You're new. So do you guys want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So, I've got three legs to the stool of my philosophy for commerce. Number one, I want commerce to be where everybody that works for state government wants to work, because if you have happy employees, they're going to do good work. Two, I want every program in commerce to be equitably available for the entire state, just as much in Missoula as it is Opine. Everybody needs a chance. And three, I'm tired of east-west, urban-rural. I want us to work together. The third part of that stool is with Tony. We have the opportunity, I often wonder when we have applications for grants and stuff, are we getting the best project or are we getting the best written application? So do we need to find out what these projects are? Do we need another way to evaluate them? I mean,
That's a good point.
it's the small communities can't afford these grant writers that are really good at their jobs, and I don't begrudge them whatsoever. But are we missing some of these smaller communities' great projects that could help them out?
Yeah.
We often become myopic and we go the easy route. I always say I'm like an old cow. I find the easiest way down the road, it seems to work. But in this case, it takes effort. It takes effort to reach out. But you know what? I found out when I walked around that building, I found that almost every single person has or knows somebody in one of these small towns.
Or they're from there.
Yeah, exactly. And so when I talk about what we're doing in their town, they light up. So guess what? I want them to reach out to them. What can we do to help you? What can we do to facilitate some growth or stay out of your way? Either way, but they have ownership then. But to have Tony go to some of the EDOs or some of the CRDCs and say, okay, let's sit down and let's teach these communities how a TIF actually works. It's amazing the simplicity of what a TIF actually is, and yet the ignorance in which people view it. Mm-hmm. And we've got to correct that. That's our job, and we need to take ownership of it. And until we take ownership of it, we're going to continue to be attacked with some of it's the only tool that we have in these smaller communities, period.
Yep.
And I think that we can do that. I'm very excited to have Tony on here. He's a very charismatic gentleman. We met the first day, and we've been very good friends since.
As I'm transitioning away from the legislature and into this role at Commerce, one of the things that I'll be working on is, reaching out to all the communities and figuring out, if they're not aware of the programs that Commerce has, or maybe it's a program that DEQ has, right? If I'm in the community, I might as well talk about it. But one of the other tasks that Paul has assigned to me is maybe Commerce doesn't have the best answer. Maybe we can learn from these small communities, so it's being that connector, as he previously said, and figuring out how best we can work together. Helena doesn't, shocker, Helena doesn't always have the best answers. A lot of these best answers come from these homegrown small communities. And so that's what I look forward to. It's week 1 of me having this job.
Congratulations.
Day 4. As I'm reaching out to these communities, I look forward to learning more and figuring out how we can do the job better. You talked about Jim out in Colstrip. That I'm meeting with him tomorrow.
Oh,
and
you'll have to tell him, say hi.
Absolutely. So sitting down with him, it's my first official EDO meeting. And, as you said, he's a wealth of knowledge. And so I look forward to our conversation tomorrow.
That's awesome.
Exciting.
I think what's great is that that sometimes maybe you guys don't have the right answer, but these small towns, they're just trying to fix a problem. So they think so outside the box in order to overcome what's happening there. So I think that is such a cool way for us to learn from them too. Like, how are you problem solving this problem? And maybe that's something we can incorporate into our programming. So.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Of course, we live in a state that is so accessible, and we're so accessible to people we don't even know. What's the old adage? If 2 Montanans claim a Montana connection but can't find somebody that they individually know within like 2 people, like 2 degrees of separation, then one of them is lying about their Montana connection.
Yes, but really, that is so true.
It's so true, because Montana, at the end of the day, Montana is one town with a very long main street.
Absolutely.
Real long. Because
It's
it's a
really,
haul to get from like Ekalaka to Missoula, for example.
Oh,
Yes.
absolutely.
Yeah.
You know what I
But
love?
fun, stunning.
What I love about Montanans is, and of course I was born and raised here, Montanans will drive 6 hours at a drop of a dime. But gosh darn it, if there is not a parking space within 50 feet of that main door,
They're
You might hear about it. I hear about it.
That's so very true.
And it's been so much fun to have you guys. So we really appreciate you giving us your time, coming to Billings, being here on your 4th day. We like to end each episode with a few rapid fire questions. So we're just going to take a quick moment to hear from our sponsor, and then we'll jump right into those.
Hi, this is Shannon Hahn with the Department of Transportation and the Small Business Program. I'm here to talk to you today about the DBE and the SBE programs. The DBE program is for disadvantaged small businesses, so that's minority and women, and the SBE program is for non-minority and non-women-owned businesses. These programs provide business assistance to contribute to the growth and self-sufficiency of businesses in the transportation industry. Services include business skills development, training, networking opportunities, bonding assistance, and much, much more. So if you're a highway-related business, please go to our website. You'll see what the eligibility criteria is at mdt.mt.gov. You can call our 1-800 number, which is 800-883-5811. So give us a call. Thanks.
Well, thanks you guys for being here. So I think maybe from both of you, it would be interesting to answer these. What's one thing you would go back and tell your younger self?
Oh, man.
We didn't say they were like actually rapid questions.
Geez.
There's just 3.
I don't know. Hey, it's going to be a rough ride, but the journey to the destination is worth it.
Oh, I love
I
that.
like that a lot.
I'll go with a similar answer, but shorter. Breathe and everything will work itself out.
Awesome.
I like that too. That one's really good.
So my next question is, what are some non-negotiables in business and life for you?
Ethics, period. I've left really good jobs. It's not worth it. You know, one of the things that when I took this job is I realized I serve at the pleasure of the governor, and I've made some decisions and that he's asked me about that have been personal to him, and he's backed me up. And I wouldn't change the decision no matter what the outcome was. I would just go back to having a great life on the ranch.
Again, a similar, I'd say integrity.
Awesome.
You gotta have integrity, and you got to be able to look yourself in the mirror.
Those are nice. Okay. And our last one is, what makes you excited for Montana in the next 4 to 5 years?
All right, I'll lead off. Every Montanan is very proud to be from Montana, and we have just incredible history as a state. But what really makes me excited for us is the promise that our state still has. You know, we're known as the treasure state, and yes, we're blessed to have a lot of natural resources that make up that treasure. But what I think truly makes up the treasure is our people, who we are, and our shared common values as Montanans, as Westerners, and all of our ancestors are pioneers of one sort or another, and we bring that history with us every day. And I think we're going to bring that into the future because our state has such incredible potential. And I look forward to being a part of that here in the next 4 to 5 years and even beyond that.
You know, Tony, when he said Montana is still the state of opportunity, I have to say that I came here as a laborer for a season. And today I'm the director for the Department of Commerce. If you don't think the state of Montana is still a state with opportunity, you know, you better go find somewhere else to live, because it truly is. And you're wasting an opportunity being here. What I'm most excited about is I really love the plan that we have. We truly have a plan. Some states don't have a plan. We truly have a plan to build this state in the image that we want. We get to be selective right now. When I'm going to the SHOT Show and I'm bringing in small firearms manufacturers into Glendive, I know they're going to be happy there because those people love that technology. It's an exciting. We are truly trying to help every single community if they want it. And I just always, in my mind's eye, I always see this caterpillar that's just crawled up and put himself in a cocoon, and the world's just waiting to see what happens. And I know it's going to be this beautiful thing when it comes out. So I can't wait for the metamorphosis that we're creating. And every day it's building, and every day we're anticipating the outcome. You know, it's going to be quicker than you think. There's going to be a lot of exciting things announced here pretty soon, and I can't wait to be a part of it.
Yeah, I think that's a beautiful analogy, and I think Montana has good. I mean, I think it always has, but there's like a really fun energy right now in economic development and the work we all do right now. There's just some stronger collaborations, I think, across the state in our own communities, and I think that's going to lend well to us. So, where can people get connected with you guys? How can they connect?
Yeah, how can they continue to find out more about what's going on?
Websites.
I don't know.
LinkedIn.
We'll throw this one over to you, Tony.
Put you on the spot. Day 4.
just find us on the Montana Department of Commerce website, Paul's LinkedIn, and
Tony's LinkedIn?
not yet.
Not
no,
yet,
I've got to get mine more active. Kind of went dormant there. But yes, Paul Grain, Director of Commerce, Tony Brockman, the business attraction community liaison. Hey, look at that, I remembered.
Backle.
Wow. Fun acronyms. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. We really appreciate all that you do for the state of Montana.
Hey, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Really enjoyed our last trip to Grand Rapids.
It was fun.
The one thing I got to tell you about that is I hope that the rest of the state sees what you guys are doing to try to have a vision for Billings and replicate it. I think it'd be great for every single one of the communities.
Yeah, and in their own unique way, too, I think that's great. That's like the best form of flattery. Is when
I know.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah, I think we do that a lot in the state. Yeah.
Yeah.
Different programs. So.
Yep.
Well, thanks, guys. It's
Thank
been
you.
awesome.
We hope you enjoyed this episode.
Make sure you are subscribed to The Vault at 201 North Broadway, wherever you podcast, including YouTube.
Connect with us on Facebook at The Vault at 201 North Broadway and Instagram at The Vault_201.
Don't forget to visit us at thevault@201.com and subscribe to our newsletter.
We will see you next time.
Bye. Thank you to the Small Business Development Center for sponsoring The Vault at 201 North Broadway. The Small Business Development Center offers free personalized support from business plans to financial projections and beyond, empowering small businesses to thrive. Reach out to us at bigsky economic development.org.